So what I did after that was actually, when I realized through the search engines and that commencement guide that something was very, very strange, was going through to the testimonials that were proving that she, first of all, went to Northwestern University or was studying there, especially in her last year, and then through to some programs. So the first one we've got here is Harvey Young, Professor Harvey Young. And he was a professor and chair of theatre at Northwestern. And in all of his media interviews and his articles, Harvey likes to tell us over and over again that Nut was 21 years old, that it was 2003, it was her last semester studying there, so that would have been the semester ending in May 2003, and he taught her for a 10-week program in Black Performance Studies. Now, I don't know if you know Northwestern, but they actually have a course, like a major in performance studies, and it's separate from theatre. So
the world's arguably most famous couple, the media scrutiny is only getting more intense. And I want to bring in now Harvey Young, a dean at Boston University, a CNN contributor on the royal wedding as well. And he joins us now. So thank you so much for joining us here in the program. And first, I want to go back to your thoughts on Meghan Markle, because in 2003, you were her professor at Northwestern University for a class on contemporary African-American theater. What are your memories of her during that time?
Yes, so I taught Meghan back in 2003. She was a student in my very small 8-person seminar. We sat in a circle and we talked about contemporary Black theater. And I just remember Meghan being a person who would walk in full of life. She was a senior who was clearly sort of juggling lots of really exciting things, sorority life. She was double majoring in theater, also international relations. And, we just had great, deep conversations, and I came to sort of respect her insight, her intelligence, her presence.
Meghan Markle, she is a biracial actress. Did she discuss greater issues about, race and identity with you, and how?
Yeah, absolutely. So the class itself was about experiences of race as reflected within theater. So every week, across 10 weeks, we read play after play, article after article, talking about race with the United States, and those conversations built upon one another. And as an extension of those conversations, what we did was we would reflect upon our own personal experiences. So both within class and outside of class, in office hours, Meghan would talk about what it meant to be biracial, what it meant to be a person who could on the one hand, navigate certain rooms and have access to plenty of different spaces and communities, but at the same time to often be misread, to have some part of herself be critiqued, and subject to the aired biases and prejudices of others. And I remember talking with her and realizing the toll that was taking.
She discussed issues like race and identity with you. What about politics and activism? We know that she's also an activist. Did come through, inside or outside the classroom during your days at Northwestern?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Meghan was a double major. So like I said, she was a major in theater and also in international relations. And the international relations part of her major meant that she was engaged in the study of international politics, being aware of the impact of humanitarian crises. She was a person who had her sense of had her sense of the pulse of the world, rather. And it was those two things: how the arts can actually reflect society, how society can actually be expressed through the arts, which became passions for her. And that's a commitment that you can see to this present day, right? Whether it's her standing before the United Nations or her using this current platform with the royal family to talk about social issues. That's a through line that I saw back when she was 21 at Northwestern.
Yeah, I absolutely love hearing this background, this complete picture that we're getting of Meghan Markle. And of course, the world knows of her as this woman who is in love, set to marry a partner who also shares her passion for activism. What do you think Meghan is going to be able to accomplish next after the royal wedding?
Well, I mean, Megan, when she was 21, I remember sitting across from her, and she was outspoken and impassioned about the need for women's rights, women's equality, pay equity. She was a person who wanted to talk about the experiences of race and biraciality and mixedness. And those are conversations she's sort of maintained as the platforms have gotten bigger and bigger, the spotlight's brighter and brighter. And with this current position within the royal family, I can see her using that platform, using that super bright spotlight to cast her attention, full on the need for women's rights, on pay equality, on having conversations that are open and honest about race within the United States, within the world at large. So I see her today. I see a glimpse of her in the past and her today, if that makes any sense. So
Yeah,
I'm not surprised that she's going to be as outspoken as she was when she was 21, sitting across from me in that class.
Yeah, Harvey, and
When Harvey, repeatedly tells us that she was 21 and it was 2003, he tries to talk about over a 10-week period that just throughout 10 weeks of knowing Nut and talking to her once or twice, in a private situation, he knew that she was going to be politically inclined or, talented in that way, and have political and humanitarian aspirations, which is just like absolutely crazy, right? Another miracle is he leaves Northwestern just before, all these testimonials come out, or around that time. I can't exactly recall. I think it was around 2014. And he goes to a different university. So here he is speaking for the university, the only real spokesman of the university, saying that, Nut participated in, of course, Black studies because it's, she's against racism. Very, very, very intentional. And he considers himself a hero. I've looked at his Facebook. He considers himself a hero, and that he's fighting for a cause by publishing his testimonials. Not money, not lying through his teeth, just that he's a hero and there's causes there. Yeah, very, very interesting. Now, when you look up Harvey Young, his CV has obviously changed, and it goes with his testimonial of being there in 2003 and studying. And he said that he started in Northwestern in 2002 doing a dissertation and being a lecturer. So think of that what you will. But this is how I know he's lying about that situation and that event. I've looked at some records at Northwestern University, and I found that Harvey wasn't listed as faculty until the years 2005 to 2007 in the undergraduate catalogue. And he was only a professor in theatre, not in performance studies. So that would have been, at the time, for the performance studies, that would have been Professor E. Patrick Johnson, I think, who's now the dean or perhaps the chair of communications, actually. So he's, I think he's leading or heading the whole communications section of Northwestern. And yeah, it wasn't Harvey Young. And two, there was no session elective for Black performance studies. The only elective in performance studies that was about African American studies of any kind was about African American or Black literature. So, and that was from 2001 up until I looked, which was 2007. That was the only elective you could find under performance studies in that area. So that cancels out the university credibility of not being there, studying, being amazing, being a humanitarian and politically inclined and aspirational and just an amazing human being. And Harvey's hero antics. So, let's move on. Let's not stop there. depending on who says, including Lady C, mainstream media, Andrew Morton, Tom Bauer, Ahmed Scobie, and Carolyn Durand, the US Embassy, etc., Nutt was either a university junior or senior in August 2002, or she was trying to get into college. I think Mike Markle, her uncle who has passed, who was CIA or a diplomat or whatever, who helped her get this internship, also said that it could have been trying to get into college. And she applied for a few months, 6 weeks, or a 5-week internship at Buenos Aires, US Embassy, Argentina, as a paid junior press officer. Depending on the story, she was either 20 or 21 years old. Sam Markle has said that it was a 5-week study program at a school associated and attached to the embassy. Considering internships, especially around this time, also are usually not job allocated, especially for a 6-week program only. It would be more about the experience, and I don't think she would actually have a job allocated to her, such as a junior press officer. I think she would be in a program, just doing really just ad hoc stuff. So I tend to believe Sam on this one. Where are we? Lady C tells us Nutt did donkey duties there, such as ad hoc. But Morton and Nutt have publicly aired to the world that Nutt was permitted to go into a country that was economically volatile. So I don't know what you know about Argentina in that year, but their currency was just plummeting, and I think they had the US Embassy and the US Treasurer Paul O'Neill come over and help them pretty much bail them out or stabilize their economy. Something along those lines. I don't know what happened or what come of it, but that's really what the situation was. And there was lots of riots, a lot of instability. So the university, because Nutt has said many times that this was an internship actually integrated within her studies to get credits, that it would have been university approved. So we've got Northwestern University approving a student to go into a volatile, unsafe country during riots and a crisis to do a study program, along with our US Embassy, of course. So Argentina was suffering this crisis, I think, since December 2001. Don't quote me on that, but I'm guessing or thinking around there. And yeah, better yet, a study program participant doing donkey duties rode I'm not. So Nutt told us on TV shows, and Andrew Morton said this was the worst situation of her life in his book. Oh God, it's ridiculous. A study program participant doing ad hoc donkey duties rode in the US Treasurer Paul O'Neill's motorcad. I think it's motorcad. When he went to see the president of, I think, Argentina. President of Argentina, right? And there were street riots on her birthday. So that would have been August the 4th, 2002. She was turning 21. She was meant to be in the motorcad with the treasurer, the US treasurer, Paul O'Neill. That's how important she was.